Guys, it's the start of the 2023 NFL season in week 1. And let me say, the Indianapolis Colts, life without Peyton Manning has not been the best of times, even though they had one good year. And that is with Philip Rivers, but they have not been the same without Peyton Manning. In 2011, Peyton Manning had a serious neck injury he had to have surgery on, and he couldn't play the whole year in 2011. And he also had a franchise tag with him. And actually, that was basically his final year in the Indianapolis Colts, and he didn't even play it down. So without him, since 2012 all the way to 2022, since 2012, the Indianapolis Colts had 7 different starting quarterbacks for the franchise. The first one is noticeable is Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck was basically the next reminiscent of Peyton Manning, the next Indianapolis Colt great. But it got ended short after he got injured, and he suddenly just retired in 2019. The guy that actually filled his shoes when he was injured became the starter the very next year. His name is Jacoby Brissett from the University of Florida. And guys, he actually had a pretty okay season. He led his team to 7-9, but they were playoff wildcard contenders, maybe a one and done team in the playoffs. But that was actually pretty impressive. Then you got Philip Rivers. In 2020, he led the Colts to 11-5 season, and he was actually pretty good with that team. Even though it was his final year, he led them to a pretty good record of 11-5, but wound up losing in the wild card to the Buffalo Bills, and that was it from him. And then you go on to 2021 season, and the starting quarterback in this round was actually Carson Wentz. And Carson Wentz had that one good year. He took his team to the playoffs. Well, let me say this. He only played 13 games for the Eagles in 2017. He went 11-2. But Nick Foles took him to the Super Bowl and actually won the Super Bowl. And besides that one good season, but he didn't even take his team to the Super Bowl itself, he had one other good season in 2019, went 9-7. And after that, in 2020, he took his team 3-8-1. And that was enough to get him off the team and wound up at the Colts. And after 1 year with the Colts, he was gone, and now he ended up at Washington. And then in 2022, they would think they could get a great Matt Ryan quarterback, think he's still in his prime. And let's say this, he was not in his prime, and not even close to the way he was when he was in the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, he was so bad, he had to get replaced by 2 other quarterbacks, Sam Ehlinger and Nick Foles. And Nick Foles, well, that hype after he won the Super Bowl for the Eagles, well, that didn't really help him in this situation. He only played 2 games. Ehlinger played 3 games, and they're both on the bench behind the new starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts in 2023 is the man Anthony Richardson. Yeah, Anthony Richardson was a top 5 draft pick in the first round. And as a Gator fan, let me say this. He might be doing great things maybe in the future. He has potential in the future to be a good quarterback. And guys, as a Gator fan, I've seen some miraculous plays this guy could come up with. But those miraculous plays were actually between either sorry opponents in the FCS and like group of 5 level, or coming from behind by 20 points, especially the LSU game in 2022. But it could be also bad coaching by Billy Napier, right? Or it could be himself, or a combination of both. Let me say this. He has a lot of talent with his legs. But guys, if you look at the stats show, he is not good throwing the ball. And he has an injury prone. He's very injury prone. He gets more sloppy with the ball, not taking care of the ball. And he has trouble with that too. And his accuracy, even though he has the throwing power, his accuracy is not there. He throws a lot of interceptions, and he can't even throw a 5-yard pass. His reads are not the greatest. But it's safe to say that the stats don't lie. And plus, if you really pay attention to Gator games, his miraculous plays were when he was behind or the opponents he played. I mean, there's no in between about it. It's just facts. But during the first week of football versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, he actually played pretty good. I mean, he really did. I mean, he's all right. I mean, he showed potential that he can carry this team if he takes care of the football. He has the right teammates around him, playmakers, the right coaching philosophy, and actually the right coaching period. But in the game versus the Jacksonville Jaguars in his first game, he did not do pretty bad. I mean, if you look at the stats, Anthony Richardson, 24 out of 37, 223 yards, averaged 6-yard passing. I mean, that's the problem with AR-15. A touchdown and 1 interception. QBR 23.5, and that's okay, but he also has what he does best is running with his legs. He had 2 carries for 40 yards, averaged 4.0, 1 touchdown, and his longest rushing was 12 yards. So guys, I mean, he had okay performance. He shows potential. He can carry this team, but running the football like Michael Vick and Lamar Jackson is hard to do. It comes far in between because these days there's a lot of running quarterbacks and they don't really work out. They're not the next Michael Vick. They're not the next Lamar Jackson like everybody hopes to be. And RG3 was very close to be like a Michael Vick prototype, but you can see running quarterbacks can get hurt. And speaking of getting hurt, with his injury prone, AR-15 did get hurt. I hope he is very well, hope he's okay, but he is questionable for next week. But is he the guy? We'll see. I mean, he showed some potential like he did back in University of Florida. He shows potential in this game, but we just have to see at the end of the year, and we have to come back to this and see how he did. Until next time, thank you for watching the video.